My mom, Gloria, my sister Taylor, and myself, Polly, are all participants in the CDH1 gastric mutation study at the NIH in Bethesda, Maryland. We travel a minimum of once a year to have gastric mapping performed by Dr. Davis and his team. This year marks our third year of being involved in the study, of which we feel so honored to be a part of. Through the years and many visits later, we have learned that it is best to travel into Reagan International Airport. And rather than renting a car or taking an Uber or a taxi, it's easiest and less expensive to take the metro. You do have to switch metro lines halfway, but all in all, the process is very simple and only takes about 40 minutes to get from the airport to the Hyatt Regency, where we prefer to stay. The Hyatt has a shuttle that takes you to the NIH starting at 7:30 a.m. and has pickups every half hour thereafter. You can also take the metro to the NIH, which is just one stop away. Its close proximity to the metro is one of the reasons why we like staying at the Hyatt, but also it is surrounded by a slew of restaurants and shops, and we especially like that it has a Starbucks in the lobby, which makes adjusting to the time change so much easier. The first night we ate at True Foods, which is just up the street from Hyatt. It's got yummy, delicious, wide variety of wholesome organic foods. And then that next morning, of course, Taylor and I made our first stop at Starbucks for a coconut milk latte. Our first full day in Maryland, we had free to sightsee and do whatever we wanted to do. And we took full advantage of this, being that we girls seldom get to be together without kids or spouses. And we were excited to see the city, being that we were in the middle of a pandemic. And it was actually quite shocking to see all of the buildings boarded up. Not all, but many were blanketed in plywood to prevent the glass from being broken by rioters. But that didn't stop us from visiting TJ Maxx and Home Goods. The city was just as beautiful as times passed, and evidence of our history was still very much present. There were peaceful protesters present, mostly outside the White House, and never did we feel frightened or endangered. We walked nearly 30,000 steps that first day in our nation's capital. All in all, it was a great day, and we were so grateful to have been able to witness firsthand the turmoil that is taking place in our nation. The next day, I woke up bright and early and headed to the NIH for my pre-op appointments. I had my blood drawn, I visited the OP3 clinic, and the pre-anesthesia testing. I had to pick up some pre-op medications for my surgery in the morning. The outpatient pharmacy is now kind of difficult to get through. You'll find the check-in station just beyond the front lobby, where you will go to a computer screen and type in your name, and then they'll give you a number in return. And then you have to follow these blue dots that are on the ground. It's kind of a windy maze trying to get there. Just keep your eyes down, and on the blue dots, you'll see that you'll pass the phlebotomy just to your right, and then you'll continue on down the path to the outpatient pharmacy. There, I picked up my Go Lightly and my Docolax because I was going to be having a colonoscopy on this trip. And that concluded my first day at the NIH. The next day was my mom and Taylor's turn to check in and go through their pre-op testing. Here I'm going to show you how the check-in process has changed since the emergence of the coronavirus. Once you go through the front doors, you will see a station to your right for patients. There you will check in with an attendant, a nurse usually. They'll ask you a series of questions, take your temperature, and they will give you a new mask to wear for your entire visit in the hospital, which is absolutely mandatory at all times inside the facility.
In the last 48 hours, any fever, cough, loss of taste or smell, shortness of breath, muscle aches, congestion, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, or headaches?
Nope.
Perfect. All right.
Well, I took colon prep, so I've been having diarrhea.
Well, we won't count that. That's not COVID related.
Once we were all checked in, we were headed to the outpatient surgery center to check me in for my surgery. I was going to be having a colonoscopy followed by an EDG and mapping today, while my mom and sister are going to their pre-anesthesia and OP3 testing. Just to the left there is the outpatient pharmacy. And then as you continue up the hallway to the right, you will pass by the elevators to the OP3 clinic. The OP3 clinic is located on the 3rd floor. Continuing down the hallway to your right, you will pass by phlebotomy and x-ray, CT scan. At the end of this hallway, you will come to an elevator. Take that to the 2nd floor where you'll pass by pre-anesthesia. You will continue to the hallway on your left until you see the sign above that says surgical waiting room and check-in, which is where I checked in for my surgery. Now, due to COVID, you're not able to have a visitor join you in the pre-op area until you are all gowned and have your IV in place, but eventually my mom was able to join me. They actually let both my mom and my sister in, given that they are both patients as well. So I was prepped and ready and wheeled off to surgery, and while I was in my case, my mom and sister did their OP3 and pre-anesthesia testing. The NIH requires that all patients have a COVID swab before their procedures. Thankfully, all of ours turned out negative, and it actually wasn't even all that bad. Just a little Q-tip to the back of our nose, and then they twisted it for 10 seconds. A lot better than we thought it was going to be.
It was not fun, and now I have it gave me a headache.
It hurt?
Yeah.
Was it real gentle?
She was gentle, but it hurts. And now I have a massive headache. It gave me a headache.
Taylor and my mom finished their day out with their pre-anesthesia check, and we went to bed early that night to be prepared for their surgeries first thing in the morning. Their surgeries were a success and without any complication. There's just one small hitch or hiccup that we have run into when traveling to the NIH, and that is getting our stipend at the reimbursement office for our room. And we have found that asking the hotel, not the clerk behind the desk, but asking management once we've prepaid all of our nights to show zero balance on our account. And when we do that, the reimbursement office will submit your money right away. However, we did not learn this until the end of this trip. It took so many hours of waiting after my mom and Taylor's surgeries to finally get our reimbursement payment. So FYI, on the day before you leave, have the management of the Hyatt zero out your account. It has to have a zero balance. We ended our trip in style with a nice Italian dinner and had a beautiful sunset right before we went to bed. And our last morning, our planes got delayed. We were able to sightsee a little bit more and go see the National Monument, which is now open if you guys want a tour. You just have to book it the day before. We just want to give a shout out to all the staff at the NIH for taking such great care of us. We are so blessed to be a part of this study, and we hope that our involvement in it will help not only our family, but those who may also have been touched by this rare genetic mutation.